Bonjour classe, aujourd'hui on va parler des pronoms accentués. These are called stress pronouns. This is what we're going to talk about today. Tournez à la page 221. 221, that's 221. Let's first review our verb venir. What does venir mean? Right, last week we were talking about going to places with the verb aller. Aller is to go to places. Our verb venir, to come. So we're talking about coming from those places. So here are our subject pronouns. Je viens, tu viens, il, elle vient, nous venons, vous venez, ils, elles viennent. All right, so note the use of these stress pronouns in the answers to the questions below. We have François dîne avec Florence. Oui, il dîne avec elle. So he's dining with her. Tu parles de Jean-Paul? Non, je ne parle pas de lui. Are you talking about Jean-Paul? No, I'm not talking about him. So this isn't he. We're not going to say il. This is him. So it's lui. Répétez lui. Here's the difference between the subject versus the stress pronouns. Our subject pronouns are who we're talking about. So like when you start a sentence, je is I, tu is you, so on and so forth. We know what those are. Stress pronouns look like this. Moi is me. Toi is you. We've seen those before. Lui is him. Elle is her. It is the same word, but in this instance it's a stress pronoun. Nous is us, again same word. Vous, you or y'all, same word. Eux is them. We don't say that X. So répétez eux for them. And elles plural for them, for all girls. Again, same word. So sometimes it is the same word. But for others, moi, toi, lui, elle, nous, vous, eux, and elles plural are the stress pronouns. So how do we use these? Why do we even need to know? There's 5 ways to use stress pronouns. One is to reinforce a subject pronoun after c'est and ce n'est pas, so it's or it's not. It's not me, it's not him, it's not her. In short sentences where there's no verb, and we'll get to that in just a second, before and after et and ou, so before and after and or, and after prepositions. So let's look at examples of all of those. Prepositions such as de, avec, pour, and chez. We're going to look at examples of those. First of all, to reinforce a subject pronoun. So we might say, moi je parle français. You're basically saying there, I speak French. Okay, instead of putting stress on the je, they're going to say, moi je parle français. Vous, vous parlez anglais. Right, so we're putting stress on I speak French, but you speak English. Okay, vous, vous parlez anglais. Here we might say, lui, il est stupide. Him, he's stupid, right? So we're putting stress on the subject that we're talking about. Another instance we use these is after c'est and ce n'est pas. C'est Paul là-bas. Is that Paul over there? Non, ce n'est pas lui. No, that's not him. C'est ta cousine? Oui, c'est elle. Yes, that's her. In short sentences where there's no verb, qui parle français ici? Who speaks French here? Moi. You just say me, just like in English, right? We don't answer who speaks French here with I. We could say I do, but when there's no verb, we can just say me. Qui est sportif dans la classe? Who's sporty in class? Eux. So we might be pointing to a group of people over there. Them, they are, okay? Them. Fourth example, before and after a and ou. Fourth instance where we use these stress pronouns. Lui et moi, nous sommes copains. So this is him and I, or him and me. We say him and I. Him and me, we are friends. Toi et elle, vous êtes bizarres. You and her, y'all are bizarre. You're weird. Qui est le plus intelligent, moi ou lui? Who's the most intelligent, me or him? Another time we use stress pronouns. And the last instance where we use stress pronouns after prepositions such as de, avec, pour, and chez. Voici Marc et Paul. Je parle souvent d'eux. So this is Mark and Paul. I talk about them frequently. I talk about them, or I frequently talk about them, or I often talk about them. Voici Isabelle. Je vais au cinéma avec elle. This is Isabel. I go to the movies with her. Voici Monsieur Mercier. Nous travaillons pour lui. This is Mr. Mercier. We work for him. Let's note the meaning of chez plus a stress pronoun. Remember that chez is at the home of or at the house of. So je vais chez moi. I'm going to my house. I'm going to the house or home of me. Right? I'm going home, to my home. Paul étudie chez lui. Paul is studying at the house of or at the home of him, or at what we would say is at his house, at his home. Tu viens chez nous? Are you coming to our house? Je suis chez Alice. Je dîne chez elle. So I'm at Alice's house. I'm having dinner at her place. I'm dining at the home of her. All right, tournez à la page 223. J'ai deux nouvelles expressions pour vous. I have two new expressions for you. The first one is, and we're about a third of the way down the page here, about the middle of the page. How to express surprise. They'll say, vraiment. And that means, really? Vraiment. For instance, you might see someone saying, c'est Batman. Vraiment. Se répéter, vraiment. Really. To contradict someone, you might say, pas du tout. Pas du tout, not at all, for example, or definitely not. For example, tu es anglais? Pas du tout, je suis français. Not at all, definitely not. I am French, right? Pas du tout. Répétez pas du tout. Pas du tout. That's a good one. All right, let's do a writing practice. Please pause the video after this. On Saturday night, some people stay home and others do not. Read what the following people are doing and say whether or not they are at home. So for instance, we have Alice étudie. You need to write out the answer. Elle est chez elle. She's at home. But if it says something where they're somewhere else, for instance, Paul va au cinéma. Paul is going to the movies. We need to say that he's not home. So we're going to say, il n'est pas chez lui. He's not at his house. So for each of those, you're saying whether or not they're at home. So you can pause the video here. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is sentence construction using noun, the word de, and noun. So we're now at the bottom of page 223, en bas de la page 223. The last part of this lesson. So you're going to compare the word order in French and English here. J'ai une raquette. C'est une raquette de tennis. It's a tennis racket. So we put the word racket after the sport, right? It's a tennis racket. They're going to say it's a racket of tennis or for tennis. Paul a une voiture. C'est une voiture de sport. It's a car of sport. Right? We say it's a sports car. So that's what we're looking at here. When one noun is used to modify another noun, the French construction is the main noun, like the racket, the word de, and then the modifying noun. Well, what kind of racket is it? Well, it's a tennis racket. Okay, for instance, we have une classe. Well, what kind of class is it? Une classe de français. We're modifying the word class to be more specific. If it's followed by a vowel sound, of course, that de is going to drop the E. It's going to become des apostrophes. For instance, une classe d'espagnol. Oops. Okay. On this speaking practice, you're going to do this written. So instead of speaking this, you're going to write it down. So complete the following sentences with an expression consisting of de plus the underlined noun. So they've already underlined what you're supposed to do here. So for instance, it says j'aime le sport, j'ai une voiture, and it's completed there in the bubble. J'ai une voiture de sport. They're saying I like sports, or I like being sporty. I have a car, dot, 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 and you want to say, I have a sports car, and that is j'ai une voiture de sport. So you're writing out the sentence j'ai une voiture de sport. Let's do number one together. Claire aime le ping-pong. Elle a une raquette. So what kind of racket does she have? So you need to write out elle a une raquette de ping-pong. Okay, so you can pause the video here and do 2 through 10. All right, for the rest of class, please finish up the devoir in the handout. You should be able to do it all now. If you have any questions, let me know. Make sure you've complete the entire handout with the activities. Merci.